So we have Lurie Children's Hospital with us. Thanks, ladies, for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. First question either of you could answer. It's, give us a sense for your hospital, scale, scope, number of beds.
We're about 350 beds, pediatric hospital. We are using Connexall for integration with, we use Philips monitors for our physiological monitors, and then we have Rollin nurse call. And so our nurse calls are routed through, and obviously Connexall is our middleware.
Yeah.
We're using it, we're not using Connexall for anything in the emergency departments or, but then we have inpatient, all of our inpatient acute care and ICUs. We use it there. We use it in procedural. Where else?
Yeah, we use it to integrate for our emergency alarms everywhere. So Staff Assistant Code Blue, that is what sends our alarms to the paging system all over the hospital. So Code Blue, we do still use pagers in addition to smartphones, so that the pagers are kind of the backup for us at this point. So that the Staff Assistant Code Blue is procedural ED, and then inpatient is where we do the nurse call alarms, the Philips monitor alarms, a little bit of Epic integration as well.
Oh, nice. Fantastic. What was your most recent Connexall implementation?
So we went big bang. We opened a new facility in 2012. So we actually moved 200 some patients from a campus 4 miles north down to our new facility. So footprint completely changed. We went from a 10-story building with about 20 beds per floor to a 23-floor tower downtown with about 48 patients per floor. So just needed a completely different workflow. It was big bang, new technology, new nurse call system, smartphones for the first time. Initially, we had a nurse call to phone integration that was SIP only, which had all kinds of problems, as you can imagine. So all the alerts were coming through as phone calls. If your phone was ringing for one alert, obviously you're not getting the second one that's happening at the same time. We were having the whole server crash because of the volume of phone calls and things like that. So we needed a middleware solution. So that's where Connexall came along. So we implemented that in 2014. So we've been on that ever since.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Philips patient monitor. So we in the email, advance email, wondered if we could get workflow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Look at you.
Christina came prepared.
I love it. That is awesome.
I apologize. It's not in color as beautiful as the one that we have, but my home printer before I left was out of ink. So
No, that's great. Thanks. That's just going to be helpful because we're collecting them. It's just information that can help everybody and clinical teams workflows. That is just very informative. So thank you for that. Do you have an alarm committee?
Yes, technically.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we, along with everybody else when the Joint Commission requirement came out, we did develop an alarm committee, wrote a policy surrounding alarm management. And it was multidisciplinary. So it was nursing, respiratory therapy. We had some providers. We had technical staff as well. So IT, HTM. So it was a collaborative. I currently lead a clinical communication technologies committee, which again is just a diverse group with both technical and clinical staff. And we kind of rolled that alarm management committee into ours. Over time, I think we're struggling with what should we be evaluating. We know that our workflows could use some dusting off because it's been a few years since we've touched them and, done some time studies and things like that.
Something,
but I think, yes, yeah.
Cool.
And I was very excited to hear about that program. Like, we definitely want to bring them in. But yeah, I think we struggle to, we've got all this data. We do have the BI reports as well.
Yeah.
We can see that SpO2 is happening off the charts everywhere, particularly in our NICU. But how do we start? Where do we apply the changes? And so I think that's kind of what we're struggling with right now. It's just identifying, okay, we can see from the data that clearly, we've got some opportunities, but how do we start chipping away?
Yeah, all that can help with that. That's cool. Okay. Do you track alarm response times?
Not typically.
Okay.
No, I mean, only if we get a request, somebody's asking particularly like, oh, this code blue, like when did it go off? Who received it? What was the response? You know, things like that. Like, when was it sent out? But
Not routine.
Yeah.
only by request.
And I'll say, and I found that really interesting in the clinical Elevate breakout yesterday, that in our NICU, you know, our staff are so close to the bedside and they do receive their alarms to their phone, but they typically don't acknowledge or take any action on the phone. They just respond to the room. So we don't have very good data regarding response times for that unit because they just go straight into the patient and address the alarm at the bedside. So I think we want to work with them a little bit too so that we can get that better data.
Mm-hmm.
It's like most areas too, even with the nurse's workflo, they don't acknowledge.
Yeah,
they just
it's
address
one more
it.
step for them.
Yeah.
They just go in and take care of it. Yeah.
You'd like to learn more about OR and packing patient transfer alerts.
Patient transfer.
Well, we have.
Sorry, couldn't hear the question.
Yeah, OR and packing patient transfer alerts.
Oh.
And if somebody like the original SOW, maybe that be something you've implemented.
Oh, like
So-
we have the EIC integration where the an email, like it's through, I guess I very much how I understand it is that like for admissions,
Yeah.
coming from PACU, when there's a bed assignment, those will go to the bed will get assigned and it goes through the EIC and then goes through to Volts
And then
to the
Connexel.
charge nurse. Yeah, and then
That all helps. Okay.
and then Connexel pushes that out and goes through the charge nurse of the assigned unit and the charge nurse of the PACU.
Yeah.
Does the OR do it to PACU or not?
Yeah, so they're it's bed assignment notifications. Thanks for reminding me of that. I was thinking of that for some reason. So it's a workflow that initiates from Epic. So once a bed is assigned for a patient, that's going to transfer up from PACU to one of the inpatient units, and they get that bed assigned. That kicks off a notification to an email inbox. There's an inbox for each unit, and the charge nurse extension is assigned to receive the notifications within Connexel. So, the bed is assigned, notification goes to email, Connexel EIC pulls that in, sends it to the charge nurse, and it goes to both charge nurses. For the ED and procedural notifications, it's automated. For inpatient, there's a manual step that our bed planners take, and then they also include a little information about who the nurse is going to be, who's receiving the patient, and what their extension is. So that way, the next charge nurse knows who's going to accept the patient. They can give that information to the next nurse, and then they can communicate regarding the handoff. So it works.
Just out of curiosity, what happened before you did that? Like, was it just kind
Lots of phone calls.
Yeah.
It was, phone calls to the charge nurse. Then the charge nurse is going to need to contact the bedside nurse, assign a bedside nurse. Then the charge nurse would call the other charge nurse back and say, this is who's going to accept the patient. That charge nurse gives the information to that nurse. The ED nurse or the PACU nurse is now calling the inpatient nurse.
Yeah, you can only imagine how many communication delays and breakdowns that could cause. And people waiting.
Text messages,
for,
and someone can't respond.
I can't find this nurse. I can't say, I can't tell her. So then nobody calls back.
So how has this helped to streamline the process?
Much faster.
Much faster.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if there is going to be some sort of delay, then that can be communicated. So the accepting nurse can say, okay, I need to give a bath real quick, and then I can give you a call back. Or, I need to administer this medication, so I'll give you a call in 5 minutes. There's more real-time communication.
Yeah.
Setting expectations for when that enough contribute.
It has broken a number of times.
Yes. Yeah. We've had some issues with it over time. It's because there's so many pops. There's so many fail points for that. So, if the Epic alert doesn't go out for whatever reason, there's, the system's down. If the email inbox is full, we've had that happen.
Password.
The password changed
Password
for a while.
expired or changed or
How many years ago was this instituted?
Oh, that's a good question. I want to say it was pre-COVID.
We
Probably
have 4
6
years.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've been with us before. Yeah, so probably 5 or 6.
I don't know for sure, but there may be a different way of pulling that message from Epic now that would avoid the email chain and then just go straight.
That would make me
Like
so
through an
happy,
ADT
'cause there's
feed or
so much
something?
from Epic that we'd love to send over, but
Yeah.
if the email is the only route to do that, like that's just
No.
tough to maintain. Okay.
Times have changed.
It's always been, we
Of course
even
they have.
added, like when we added a new one maybe a year ago, Mint or
Yeah, it was for the event charges.
and that just took forever to build too. Like just
Oh,
because
really?
it's so complicated. Like I don't know. I just
I think
There was a lot of
it's the
issues.
approvals for the email inbox and being able to, get a secure password and share that information with the vendor. It just, we had to go through some approvals.
yeah. So if there's an easier way, that's
Would you just have that
Yeah.
call? Because it sounds like a useful feature, and it sounds like it
Yes.
would be more useful if it had less
Yeah.
failure points.
Yeah, because that was probably one of the original Epic to Volt type notifications that we did. We've got 2 different routes for that. So the one is to go through the email route through ConnectSol to Volt. The other one we use is Epic over the email paging interface directly to the Volt server. But that one without ConnectSol in the middle, we have no reporting. We have no way of knowing where it failed if it didn't go through.
Yeah.
We've been seeing some inconsistencies with the paging system. It's just not as reliable as it's been in the past. So it's more stable to send it through ConnectSol. We've got better ways to troubleshoot and run reports and get some data surrounding that. So, but yeah, if there's a better way to get it through ConnectSol. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
there, and because the email thing is a lot of work to get all the approvals and it multiple fail points. We've kind of been going over the paging system, but then we're losing the reporting and the troubleshooting. But yeah, we've got a number of notifications that are sent that way now regarding transfers. We send a lot of consult orders like from Epic. So if you need the vascular access team to come up and assess and place an IV, we can send a notification that way. Consults are we doing? The IR consult. So if someone might need a PIC line or central line, then the provider can place an IR consult order, and then they can come up and assess.
You guys do customer success calls with Marlon's team?
Yes.
Okay. We'll pass on for modernization here.
Yeah.
Well, even before that, maybe we can just talk to some of the tech guys here,
for sure,
right?
here.
Get the immediate feedback for you.
For sure. So how are you guys using SSR support today?
Not as much as we would like to. Okay. I'll say that. I think right now we primarily use reporting for troubleshooting. So it'll be, so-and-so didn't get the staff assist. So we try to backtrack and see, okay, did they even have an assignment? Because that's 90% of the issue is they just got busy at the beach and didn't make the assignment. So I think that's primarily it, but we do want to, it's been some time, our workflow's doing some cleanup. We'd like to get in the space where we are evaluating response times and how many alarms are triggered. Can we implement any sort of suspend or any advanced features to kind of bring those numbers down? So we're hoping to get back into that. We've had an eventful year. We've had a cyber event at our hospital earlier this year, so it took us a few months to recover from that.
Yeah.
And now we're just kind of like picking back up where we left off with all the projects. So now that we're kind of through that space, we're ready to get back into the innovative space.
Do your clinicians find Volt effective for managing secondary alarms?
They do. Yeah, our clinicians love Volt. It's just very simple to use. I think the challenges are with finding the best way to integrate in order to get the alarms to Volt, and that's where ConnectSol is a huge help for us. So we constantly have requests: can we send vent alarms? Can we? What else can we send to the phones? I think everyone wants a notification on their phone now, since that's how we live our day-to-day lives. We get the bank information and everything. But does it make sense? Is your phone the best place to get that information? Like, do you actually have the time to respond to it? So I'm just kind of thinking through all that. But I think every new workflow we get now, they say, can we get a notification for the phone for this?
Yeah. So the final question you can each take a turn. From your perspective, what's the greatest benefit in that solves in your hospital system?
I think that I think we've heard this all week long. Is like Connexel is great with Connexel comes up with the solutions. The team, you ask for it, you give us something to do with that. So, I just think that overall, when we ask for something, you guys figure out a way to help us implement it. So, show us things, to teach us. I just think that's the greatest benefit.
Yeah, and I have a little bit of like the pre-post. I know what it was like before we had Connexel. I think Connexel offered better prioritization for the staff. So, rather than just getting phone call after phone call, now they're getting an alert and they can, acknowledge the alert and give themselves a little more time to respond to it. They can, take responsibility for that. If they truly can't get to it, they can escalate it to the next person. If some time has passed and they truly got sidetracked and didn't get to it, there can be a reminder. So I think that we've had better response because of that, and just some more accountability for the alarms, because you do have a couple different ways to address it. Yeah.
Do you want to?
Just a couple of quick final questions for housekeeping. Are you okay if we use any of this for promo purposes?
Sure.
And if so, we would send it to you for your approval ahead of time.
Okay. Sure.
And the survey, the nurses survey?
Yeah. So our clinical team has a survey they can administer to your bedside clinicians. And we would do it, we would administer it and share the results with you. Would you guys be interested in that?
It's to gauge alarm fatigue and the levels of where you're at experientially, essentially. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to get that information.
Yeah. We have some work to do for sure. So, good to hear what their priorities are.
Good. We'll pass that on too.
Well, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah.